her tone sharpened, and her arrogance swelled. My two sons tried to rise and help me, but their grandparents pressed them back down. My sweet darling grandsons, sit with grandma, talk with me. Look at these two fine young men, so tall, so handsome. They look just like their father. I'd say they take after Janie more, Jeremy's brother muttered. My in-laws shot him a glare so sharp he shrank back into silence. I circled the main table, pouring tea, refilling wine glasses. Finally, unable to bear it, my sons dragged over an extra chair, forcing a space for me between them. Mom, one of them said, our birthday is also the day you suffered the most. Sit. Rest with us. At that, the table fell silent. Faces shifted. Lillian smirked with mockery. If Jeremy knew his sons had been raised so well by you, he'd be overjoyed. My father-in-law cleared his throat, and Lillian instantly shut her mouth. Allison, my mother-in-law said then, eyes narrowing with a smile, since today's such a good day, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. Please, go ahead, I replied. You see, with Sammy and Scott heading off to university soon, that 3-bedroom apartment will be awfully empty with just you living there. Once they leave, why don't Henry and I move in? While you're at work, I can cook for you. So this was her real intention. My parents had paid the down payment for my apartment. Originally, the deed was supposed to carry Jeremy's name, but half a year after our marriage, he had taken Janie out for a drive, and the two of them never returned. I received what was left of him in a small urn. My parents, seeing how hard life was for me, had helped with the mortgage ever since. For that reason, the deed bore only my name. Now, with the boys nearly grown, my in-laws, Henry Grant and Wendy Alden, had set their eyes on my home. Mom, it's not that I don't want you to stay, I said evenly, but Sammy and Scott will be going abroad for further studies. I've already sold the apartment to prepare. I plan to buy a 1-bedroom for myself, and use the rest of the money to support their education. My father-in-law's face darkened. He slammed the table with his palm. You're our daughter-in-law. How could you make such a big decision without consulting us? Feigning surprise, I answered, but I'm doing all these for Jeremy's children. The money from the sale, hand it to Wendy. She'll keep it safe. I don't trust you with such large sums. You spend too freely. Normally, if I had explained it was for the boys' sake, they might not have pressed further. But today, they seemed to treat me as though my role was over now that the children had been admitted to university. I kept my composure. I've already arranged everything with a lawyer. The money is locked into a growth trust. From now on, Sammy and Scott will each receive $1,000 a month, every month, until they turn 40. At that, Henry's scowl eased, his brows loosening. Now that's better. At least you know enough to leave the money to the boys. Forget about buying another apartment. Just rent something small. No need to waste the money. Just as the family's chatter refused to die down, the restaurant manager walked over and handed me a microphone. Today is both a birthday banquet and a celebration for these two young men's admission to university, he announced. As their mother, perhaps you could say a few words, share some thoughts on raising them. I accepted the microphone. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my sons, Scott and Sammy. Today your sons got into Corval. But what kind of occasion is this without their real parents here? A voice cut me off mid-sentence. A man and a woman entered, hand in hand. I lifted my head and froze. Even after 18 years, I knew them instantly. One was my long-dead husband, Jeremy. The other, his mistress, Janie. The hall erupted into gasps and whispers. Yet my in-laws, seated in the place of honor, didn't even flinch. Not only were they unshaken by their son's resurrection, but they actually pulled Janie to their side and gave her a seat of honor. And Jeremy, the man whose ashes I had buried nearly 2 decades ago, strode right up to me. Allison, you were never much of a wife, but as a mother, I'll give you credit. You did well. At last, Sammy and Scott seemed to grasp what was happening. What's going on? They demanded. Jeremy pointed at Janie. She's your real mother. Allison is just a barren hen who couldn't give me children. If it hadn't been for her refusing to divorce me, threatening me with death. Click the link in my bio to get the full story for free.